We're looking at issues around, yet again, agriculture. Of course, the federal government, like I did mention earlier, has received about a shipment of 32,000 tons of brown rice from Thailand, marking the first major import of the commodity in a decade. Of course, don't forget, the border was closed to all importation of these commodities because of government planning to encourage local production there as well. So as the government seeks to reduce prices of food, that is what they said. Of course, according to the report, the maritime logistic firm Ducat did facilitate that policy there, talking about government suspending import tariff on essential food items to make that happen there. And I'm being joined in the studio here to look at this issue. What is the implication for local production of this move there? I have joining me Vincent Yusuf, is a Daily Trust Agric correspondent. He joins me here in the studio. Good morning, Mr. Vincent.
Good morning, Mr. Yusuf. It's a pleasure to be here with you today again.
All right. It's always a pleasure having you. We're also expecting Dr. Ogbo Joseph Douglas to also join us on the program. He's the president of All Farmers Progressive Association there. He's still on his way. We hope you join us before the end of the show. Let's begin this way now. I mean, we are going back again to rice importation. I don't know whether you have seen the 32,000 tons that has been brought into the country.
Well, thank you very much. I practically not see it myself, but it's been in the public domain that government has received 32,000 metric tons of rice, particularly from Thailand. That is what we have right now. And perhaps we're still expecting more shipment, So that practically, takes us back to the era in which rice imports, was the order of the day, and then made a lot of farmers, to cry out that that is practically killing them, So now we are now having a situation where we have to import. Government is thinking perhaps this is going to crash the prices of rice in the market. Whether that is going to happen, I can tell you, I do not expect any serious impact in the market. 32,000 metric tons of rice, how many bags are we talking about, for instance? We are talking about maybe likely 640,000 bags of rice, in a country of 230 million people. Because, a ton of rice is equal to 20 bags of 50 kg rice. Because 1 ton is 1,000 kg. So if you do that, if you divide, let's say 640,000 bags by 36 states, so you are likely to get, each state is likely to get like 17,000 bags of rice. So imagine in a state you have just 70,000 bags of rice. What impact do you expect we have in the market?
It's going to be very minimal.
It may not even likely have any serious impact, because in some states, assuming you have 500 shops in each state selling rice, so those 500 shops are likely to get maybe 50 bags of rice, or less than that. Between 30 to maybe 40 or thereabout. And there are shops that sell more than 50 bags of rice in a day.
Absolutely.
So they can literally sell that thing in a day. And what impact would that make? So if even that 32,000 metric tons we are talking, by the time you distribute it to all, let's say all the boarding schools in these countries that are, it might not even be enough for them. So what impact is that going to have? I do not see any serious impact that 32,000 metric tons. I've seen headlines that say, massive boost is going to, I don't really see that happening. And again, how are they going to distribute? How are we going to get this in the market? This is duty free. So is it going to be sold as palliative, or how are you going to brand the rice in the market? How are we going to identify that this is a
big question?
Yeah, that this is a duty-free rice. So we can, ask questions when we see that the prices are high. Do we have the mechanism that will allow us to know, what is the distribution system because, you know, we are in a country where people jumped at every opportunity. You have people who will buy this rice, stock them, and then even rebag it again and go back to the market. So you will notice that the price will remain the same. But there are people who want to make the most out of this.
Absolutely.
So do we have any mechanism on the ground that will enable us check this? If we don't have, you will not expect any impact. Who is going to sell the rice?
And is it going to be sold separately from the normal market? Is there going to be a market where I can come and get the duty-free rice?
So, two, another issue that we are likely to deal with is you may have people who will go and buy this rice in bulk somewhere and go back to their warehouses and store it and wait for that period to expire and then bring back the same rice.
Rebag it and then sell it to the open market.
It's going to be extremely difficult for you to see any impact of 32,000 metric tons of rice, because you are dealing with a country that has over 200 million, and then rice is practically a major staple in most homes in the city, except in the village. Even in the villages these days now, they consume rice. So it's going to be a serious problem. Maybe if we say, okay, we have like 1 million or 2, you know, metric ton coming into
that would
the
make
country.
More sense.
Yeah, it will probably crash that. But again, you are dealing with people who are very smart. These marketers are very smart.
Or corrupt. Let's use the right word.
The thing is, they will buy this rice very cheap, go back to their warehouses, store it for a few months, then rebag this same rice again and bring it back to the market, and nothing will happen to the price. The only thing is that they will make more money because they will round trip the whole process. So if government does not even have a system that will allow, you know, the monitoring of the sale of this rice, then it's going to be extremely difficult for you to expect any impact in the market. Maybe when we have more shipment.
Let me ask you, before I go to look at the implication for local production. A couple of months ago, government did came up with, can I call it a strategy or a policy now, that, I mean, civil servant, that's government workers, will have access to get a 50 kg bag of rice for 40,000 naira. Did you monitor to see whether, because I have interacted with a couple of civil servants who told me they never, get to see those rice.
A lot of civil servants, even here at Abuja, we have interacted with, have not received that rice. Some did, actually. Some did. But some never got. And they are still waiting. Some have written down their names and they are still waiting to get those rice. But even if you give a family 1 bag of rice, how many months will that sustain that family?
Absolutely.
And you know, today, we have rice that you see 50 kg bags of rice. But in actual sense, that rice does not measure up to 50 kg. You may see 50 kg written there, but by the time you weigh it, it might be far less than 50 kg. So some families of 6, 7, because we have children who literally don't eat anything except it is rice, it is indomie, it is spaghetti. They don't know anything like maybe cornmeal, semo, or any other thing. They eat rice a lot. So how will that sustain such civil servant? So they may take it 1 month, the second month they are back again. The situation is back to, you know, where the status quo. So it's better we look at options that are very sustainable, that we allow long-time impact in the sector. Otherwise, all this intervention we are doing is taking us nowhere.
Indeed, talking about intervention taking us nowhere. Is government playing with the emotions of Nigerians by keep coming up with these policies that in essence are not really realistic? You know,
each time there is an outcry of the rising prices, government is also scared because they don't want a situation where people will hit the street to protest. That would be more disastrous. So most times we find a situation where they will want to, in the short time, you know, reduce the impact of maybe inflation in the food inflation in the country. But that is not sustainable. You can, but What baffles me is that while you're doing this, we are not seeing a corresponding impact in a boost of local production. If you don't do that, you will continue to distribute palliative, you will continue to import, and the problem will go on and on and on. Unless we systematically look at the issues, okay, at the local level, at the country level, what do we need to do to make sure that we have sustainable programs that we boost our local production in a way that it will make a huge impact, you know, in domestic food supplies. Otherwise, if we don't do that, honestly, I do not see. We will continue to import, to down tensions in the country, and then maybe we continue to distribute palliative, and that will not solve
the problem. Indeed, Mr. Vincent, hold your thought there. We're going to go on a very quick break now. When we come back from that break, my guest, Dr. Ogbo Joseph Douglas, will join me on the show. Don't go away. Glad to have you back. It's the Business Daily right here on Trust Television, and of course, we're talking agriculture. Federal government recently, as early as this weekend, took delivery of 32,000 tons of rice, just a little over 600,000 bags from Thailand. Talking about foreign rice, and of course, according to the government, is a duty-free importation. How would this impact on local production? How would this help in price control or crashing the prices of the commodity in the market? I have been speaking with Mr. Vincent Yusuf, and of course my guest now, the Dr. Ogbo Joseph Douglas, has also joined the show. Welcome, Dr. Joseph Douglas. He's the president of Farmers Progressive Association. Good morning,
Thank you very much.
and welcome to Business Daily.
It's my pleasure.
All right. How does that news come to you? When government begin to, import rice again after so many policies that we've put in place to encourage local production?
Yeah, I think we in All Farmers Progressive Association, I don't think we appreciate that much. Why? Because we have the capacity to feed the world. It's an insult on ourselves by saying that federal government is important when we have vast land that can produce enough for this country.
Country to go, to support our population.
These are political features. They are just purely politics. Why? Because I believe strongly that if such investment or such commitment made by government is to be real, we can't be talking about food scarcity in Nigeria. And then the whole Nigeria going out to import food to feed their own people. It's a shame on us. So that is it.
Indeed, Mr. Vincent, do you share Dr. Douglas' position? He talked about we have enough local capacity to produce all this food for our population.
It's a fact that everybody who lives in this country knows very well. Even our visitor knows that we have the potential and we have what it takes to even lead, the global market when it comes to agricultural products. We have different agroecological zones. Whatever you want to grow in this country, there is a particular agroecological zone where you can grow, whether it's vegetable, whether it is grains or tubers or what have you. But like I said earlier, we've never been able to put together a program that we can sustain for many years. I tell you what, if you have a program that runs for 30 years, you are likely to have another 30 years of the impact of that program, if you are working with the right people. But if you have a program that lasts just 2 years, 3 years, then after 2-3 years, the impact ceased again. So you now have to go back to start afresh. And that is the problem that we have. is it rice that we cannot produce? Like he rightly said, there are people who are still exporting rice through our borders because government has failed to even organize the system to enable us even know how much is leaving this country to other countries. You know, by now, we should expect that we have a sort of diplomatic game around even our food supply. Government can say, look, we can capture countries like the small West African countries. They feed on us, basically. We could use that because to supply even their market. They will, seed, for instance, they will tell you 70% of the seed supplied in West Africa, you know, comes from Nigeria.
But there are sometimes that Nigerian farmers don't even have seeds.
That is the problem, because government has failed over the years to organize every sector, every subsector of the agricultural sector in a way that it will make global impact. I'll give you an example with India, for instance. India had a problem feeding its people in the 60s, that when they had famine and all of that. They went to the drawing board and came up with programs, massive production of certified seeds, technology, and they pump in money into that sector. And today, in the rice, India is exporting rice. And you know, last year, or some few years ago, when they had a problem with supply chain, they decided to say, look, we will no longer export our rice because globally we are having some shocks, and therefore we don't want to have impact at home.
On local
and we saw the impact here. For countries that relied heavily on import, they suffered. So we have to learn from the past and, you know, recalibrate our agricultural architecture in a manner that it will be sustainable.
All right.
Remove it from politics entirely.
Exactly. I think that is where the problem lies. Chief, talking about taking agriculture away from politics, over the years we've been having minister, like somebody said, say after the Akim additional, we've not really had any serious minister of agriculture. These are people you relate with very well as an association. How much of effort do you think they are making to ensure that we have food sufficiency? Only last year, June last year, the Minister of Agriculture did say within 180 days our food prices was going to crash. It's been over 200 days now, nothing is happening.
I basically agree with my colleagues. Until we remove agriculture from politics, we cannot survive this food crisis in Nigeria. You see, why do we politicize hunger? The worst that can happen to any country is food riot. Nigeria was almost at the breaks of entering food crisis recently. We have overcome this. Why? Because government has done a lot to make sure they create some interventions to make sure they quell the tension.
But how long?
But how long? And I assure you, if it got the repetition of what happened, believe me, Nigeria will burst. What men cannot tolerate is hunger. You can tolerate anything, but you can't tolerate hunger.
Absolutely.
It is better for us to go in the right direction to achieve results on this food crisis. I'm surprised when Tinubu came in, he said, I am going to continue from where Buhari stopped. I don't expect him to make similar mistake Buhari made during his time. Buhari was actually pumping out money for agriculture, but he could not be able to identify it with real farmers. Our problem in this country is political farmers. Today again, Tinubu has come in. Now look at how he drew his own agenda now. By going through state governors to arrange farmers for them. State government went in and bring in their own political allies. These people, they have no roads to farm. How do we get the result? Now, for Agro Pocket, they are dealing with farmers that have been submitted, the list of farmers submitted from the federal, from the government. State government. And by the time you allocate anything to them, it is still going to their political allies. They will stay there and sell them to the real farmers. And most of those real farmers cannot even have money to afford them. So the only thing we should do in this country, government should deal directly with farmers, original farmers, which we are here.
But the question is again how to identify the original farmers.
The original farmers is All Farmers Progressive Association of Nigeria.
Many people will disagree with you, Chief.
No, I have to let you know.
There are so many
the
other farmer
they were political
organizations that will disagree with you, Chief.
No.
But
if
let's
disagree.
Moving on, let's look at you were on a fact-finding mission in Turkey recently.
Yeah.
And of course, you saw the way they do things there in their own farms, and of course how they engage tractors. Talking about farm mechanization in that country. What do you think we can actually borrow from countries that have advanced in agriculture like that to develop our own local production?
A lot of things for us to borrow from them. In fact, when I was there, I shed tears. I said, oh, in Nigeria being a green revolution country, look at Turkey, almost a desert. And yet, while we were there throughout, in fact, we eat green leaves, fresh from the farm.
Something that we can't get in some places in Nigeria.
We can't get in places in Nigeria. They are there surplus. Do you understand? Even our host that kept us there, they came up with a plan that they are going to assist us, the farmers in Nigeria, by creating avenue for where they can import tractors to assist us. And they have also arranged beautiful organic fertilizers. They brought them here to Nigeria. We test run them in our farms. We saw the efficacy of those fertilizers. They are too good. In fact, a neighbor who was using Nigerian fertilizer, or the common one we know in this country, when we plant a farm, his 3 hectares, he was able to harvest 6 bags of rice. I mean, of beans and corn. But in my own, that is just 2 hectares, I was able to record 24 bags of beans and 32 bags of corn. You can imagine the difference. That is why I took up my time to go and visit the manufacturers in Turkey to make sure that I see things for myself. Right there, they told us everything. They are ready to assist Nigerian farmers by coming in with experts that will give us the technology that it will take to grow us in agriculture. If federal government can pay attention to such break, why can't we have a breakthrough in this country? So I expect the federal government to look for real farmers. I am here. I have offered myself to do this for the federal government, and I give them 2 years.
Thank you, Chief.
There will be nothing to talk about.
Chief. I know you have a lot of farmers under your control, so also some other farming association too did also have farmers under their control as well. Mr. Vincent, we're talking about assessing the real farmers, but most of the real farmers that we have most of them are in local villages. They are in the local settlement where they can't easily have access to what is happening at the federal. Like he mentioned, a lot of political farmers have hijacked agriculture, and that is the reason why we're having a food crisis in the country. How do you think government can checkmate this? You are somebody who's covered agriculture for a very, very long time. Which method do you think can be deployed for us to be able to have direct access, if it's credit, if it's to get seed, directly to the farmers?
Thank you very much. I think we have centralized agriculture so much in terms of federal government's intervention. In whatever they do, it's from Abuja. But you need to really go down to, we have 74 local governments in this country. Is it too big for you to have an office where you know that every peri-urban or village that are agrarians in nature, that you have data of farmers, and those data are feed into central data. So I can sit down here in Abuja and tell you the numbers of farmers in a particular village. And if you're an investor and you have interest on a farmer, I can say, go to this village and you will see this farmer there. And you can take a walk to the village and you can meet the man in his farm. If you don't do that, you waste more time organizing workshop about data, everything here in Abuja. You will not be able to identify. And like I said in my earlier comment, we are in a country where people are very smart. By the time you are even conceiving an intervention...
I would like to say people are very corrupt.
Yes.
Because that word being smart is actually being corrupt.
You know, that is the way, that is the common way they used to describe a corrupt tendency these days. They gave it a name that will make it look sweet.
Sweet, absolutely.
You know, so people, the moment you are conceiving an intervention, they are already moving ahead of you to even set up system that will make you trap it by the time it gets there. But if you have a database of farmer, I can, in my village, I know there is an office that I can walk into. and they know everybody there. You see, if you go to every village today, they will tell you who is a farmer and who is not a farmer.
Yes, absolutely.
They will even tell you the sizes of the farms of people's farms. They will tell you how much they harvest every year. They know. But if you sit down here in Abuja, someone here walks into your office and tells you this. Until we are able to decentralize our activities and then make it sustainable in such a way that what we are doing this year, we will not repeat it this year, next year. You have database of every farmer that you are dealing with. You even know his farm. You have his contact. Sometimes you can surprise him even in the farm. Here we don't know. I know. Let me paint this picture. If you have people who have 20 hectares to 50 hectares of farmland, why should the Ministry of Agric not know such a person exists? In a country, the ministry should know that such a person exists. They know his location, they know his farm. So anytime they want to intervene, they can easily walk to that man and say, look, how do we help you to expand your production from 50 hectares to 100 hectares? Because they know the man has been there, he has a reputation, he has been in the business for some years, they have been following him. In this country, there are people who have 100 hectares and government don't even know about them.
Absolutely.
And they cannot even access any input. The people who live in Abuja, who live in major cities, who have connections to people who live in Abuja, are the people who sometimes even get this impact. And then when they get impact, government does not have a mechanism to monitor and evaluate what they are doing. Yeah. If I'm giving you 50 million, for instance, you are getting a loan from a government institution for 50 million, do they visit your farm regularly to know and evaluate whether that farm is worth 50 million? Because if the farm is not worth 50 million, they should ask you. And we don't think you should spend up to 20. So maybe the person is taking the rest to real estate and all of that. So it's creating a situation where it's affecting your own local production.
Talking about
government does not have
the lack of proper
monitoring
system. Chief, you say you have a lot of farmers under you. How sure are you that they are real farmers? You have proper monitoring and evaluation system.
Very beautiful. You see, in all Farmers Progressive, we have a portal that accommodates up to 10 million farmers in existence now, with their land coordinate, down to 774 local governments in the country. We're there. We have the machinery, we have the structures that's already set up. All we need is just a little push from government. Farmers are the most poorest set of people, but if they can be enhanced, they are the richest people in the community. So what we need is enhancement from government. And government is directing their own focus on the political farmers. We keep on emphasizing on that. This year, if you want, I can give you the video of my own farm. Right now, I have up to 100 bags of maize.
I think I saw your videos during harvest.
Good. I mobilized them to farm about 10 hectares of land. I farm it myself. I must live by example. So if I'm not a farmer, I won't do that. Go and see my beans. Go and see other. I don't buy food from market. All my children that have scattered away, nobody buy food from market. They just came in and pack and go. So government can empower the Nigerian farmers. There was a time we have a meeting with all the departments in agriculture concerning mechanized program in the country. We have offered a program for the federal government to adopt so that all Farmers Progressive can handle mechanization program in this country. And it's going to be successful. Do you know why government doesn't succeed in business? Because they look at it as a public property, as a public good. A public good will not die of hunger. Because this man will say this one will feed it before he goes to farm. The other one will say this one will, before he sets out. Nobody feed the goat and he dies. Commit this thing to us and hold us responsible. Give us a time. We will pay you back and the instrument will still be there.
So in essence, what you're saying is that for us to achieve food sufficiency, government must empower the local farmers. And they must make sure that the right resources get to the real farmers.
To the real farmer and monitor them.
Monitor them, indeed.
If they fail, let them write an undertaking. If we fail, held us responsible.
All right, Mr. Vincent, how do we categorize them? We have maize farmers, we have tomato farmers, we have rice farmers, we have beans farmers, and all categories of farms. Let's say for each state in Nigeria, a product can be identified. Let's say for Kano, for example, maybe millet. In Jigawa, maybe you talk about corn. In so many others, tomatoes can be from different places. Do you think that policies will work?
Yeah, of course, it will. You see, in every part of this country, you can grow a unique product. If you go to Jos, for example, Plateau State, you see the vegetable there, you won't even believe. A friend came here some years back to cover an election, a journalist from France. And I took that journalist to Zuba International Market, where all the fruits and things. And the lady was there, she was shocked to see the amount of fruit that we produce in this country. She couldn't believe it, and the whole thing is literally on the floor, on the bare floor, you see daily, and I mean a whole thing. Because government is not able to intervene in that. If you go to Taraba, go to Gembu, for example. I was there when I was doing a story on
where you have Mabila Plateau.
Yes. If you see the potential for tea production in that terrain, it will shock you. The weather is so sweet. You can grow fruits and everything. Nobody is there to even help those farmers. Nobody. No, in fact, even exporting their product was a problem. And yet we had tea companies in this country who were bringing in tea from Kenya, from South Africa. I've seen some of them in Kenya myself. So that is a problem. We need to identify the states, and every state has potential for a particular product. We must identify there and then look at avenue. We must not forget irrigation.
All right, I must thank you. Irrigation is indeed very, very critical. There's no time for us to go into that, talking about farming all year round. We'll look at another day to look at that topic, I think, as a single topic. I must thank you, Vincent Yusuf, Daily Trust Agric Correspondent. I must thank you for your time.
It's a pleasure.
And Dr. Ogbo Joseph Douglas, President of Farmers Progressive Association. I must thank you for your time and indeed contribution. I'm sure the government has heard you, and of course they'll, take appropriate measures to ensure that we have good food production in the country. Thank you so much for your time and contribution as well.
Thank you very much.
With that is a wrap on the show today. We'll be back again tomorrow. I am Yusuf Akubu.